Hello everyone, and welcome back to another speed building video. Today we are going to be building a little apartment fourplex kind of complex. So if that sounds like something you're interested in watching, make sure you grab yourself a drink, a snack, a blanket, get comfy, and let's get into it. So as I've just said, this is a little apartment, or what's kind of known as like a fourplex. So this this building actually only has three floors, so I guess this is a threeplex, but it's pretty much just like a smaller apartment that you find in some residential areas, at least residential areas where I'm from, so kind of like rural Ontario. I don't know if rural is the right word, actually. Suburban Ontario. In some towns in Ontario, there are these little fourplex little apartment building kind of things, and so that's pretty much exactly what I decided to build today. So I did end up using a reference photo, which I will go ahead and put up on the screen now for you guys so that you can kind of see what I was looking at while I was building this. And yeah, I am so excited to share this build with you guys because it's a very realistic build. It's very well, not very, but I guess a bit run down. I didn't want it to feel too run down because of the neighborhood it's in. It's supposed to be more of the middle class kind of area, and so I didn't want it to feel as beat up as like the other houses I've been doing for my save file recently, but I think I got a really nice happy medium, a good in between. And so yeah, I'm super excited to share it. And of course, I have storylines for every sim living in this apartment. Now, not all the rooms are filled up. The way I did it is, so there ends up being 6 apartments in this house, or apartment. There's 6 rooms in this apartment that your sims can live in, and I believe about 4 of those are filled out, mainly because we have an 8 sim restriction just with like the base game if you're not playing with mods or anything, and so I didn't want all of the slots to be filled out or up in case you wanted to move one of your sims in here to like play in this build, I guess. And so yeah, I left the 2 basement lots unfurnished kind of. One of them looks like one sim is either like moving in or moving out, which you'll see me decorate later on in the video. And then the other one's just completely blank aside from like the fundamental furnishings like counters, fridges, stoves, and like your bathroom appliances. I don't actually end up showing any of the bathrooms in this build, mainly because they're all very small, just your standard like 2x3 bathroom, and I didn't do too much personality decoration. I did for a couple of them where I felt it was maybe a little bit more necessary, but for most of them it's kind of just a standard bathroom that looks the same as all of the other ones. So you might see it when I like spin the camera around and things like that, but yeah, there's nothing really to write home about in terms of the bathrooms. So that's kind of the situation with that. But yes, so if your sims want to move into this little fourplex apartment kind of thing, you can pick either the basement lots or you can evict some sims. Now, the sims that are living on the main floor and the top floor, they have very decorated homes, like very personality based, things like that. So you might want to refurnish it for yourself, or you can play with the sims that I envision living here. It's totally up to you, but everything is playable, or at least should be. I haven't actually play tested it because I'm kind of lazy, but everything should be playable. I don't think there's really any issues. Like the little fire exit that you can see I have on the right side of the right side of the apartment, that should be completely functional if your sims want to use it, but it only works for like one half of the apartment building, which isn't the most realistic, because what happens if the sims on the left side catch a fire? They can't escape. They gotta just jump out the balcony and hope for the best. But the fire escape was more there for visual interest and less realism. Or no, for realism, but less to be used, I guess is the way you could put it. And yeah, so I think that's kind of like the general overview of everything I do. The shell of this house isn't actually anything too crazy. It's pretty standard. It's kind of just a box with a couple of little like outcroppings, if you want to call it that. So it's kind of, just one giant rectangle, and the reference photo I was using, aside from like the little outcroppings in the front. But then in terms of like the sides and the back of the lot, that's completely like improvised, just whatever I kind of felt was working best in that area. And so like the fire escape and things like that, those are just my own little touches. And I do end up adding a cute little backyard lot to this place. I put like a tiny little swimming pool in there with kind of some like murky water. I didn't want it to look the most clean. It's not like a vacation getaway kind of pool, but it's just like a little thing that I thought was, kind of cute. Maybe the pool's like actually not really in use anymore because maybe the landlord can't really afford to keep it, or like no one wanted their rent to be upped in order to afford the pool or anything like that. I'm not really sure what the storyline is, but your Sims can still swim in it. Gosh, that was a tongue twister. Your Sims can still swim in it. And then in the back of the lot, there also ends up being a basketball hoop, the trash cans, a little grill, a picnic table. So kind of just a nice little hangout area for all of your Sims to, come and hang out and chill. I also end up adding a couple of bikes out there and things like that. So there really is just a lot of activities on this lot for your Sims to use. And I also end up including a cute little parking lot in the front of this build. It's not functional because cars don't work in the Sims, unfortunately. But yeah, it still has cars and it looks like it could be functional if cars were a thing, but they're not. But yeah, that's not in the reference photo. I just decided to add it because I felt like the lot was kind of missing a little something, so I put that out there. And then also like a bench and a couple of mailboxes, and also like this telephone pole kind of thing. And yeah, that's kind of like the basic overview. There's not too much landscaping, honestly. I think I have like 2 trees in this build, which is a crazy statement for me to make because I feel like I always put so many trees in my builds. And yeah, but there wasn't too much space on the lot, and also with the height of this building, I feel like it wasn't too necessary. I do put like a good amount of shrubs, but there's not many like flowers or anything. It's kind of just a simply landscaped lot, I guess you could say. But yeah, for the exterior, I am using pretty much all the windows. Actually, not pretty much every window ends up being these high school years ones. I just think these are the most realistic looking windows we have in the game, and they just kind of fit perfectly, so I just went with that. And then I also took the horse ranch shutters and like a black swatch, and I sized them down by 1 using the left bracket key just so that I could get them to fit on the windows a little bit better. And then I ended up stacking one on top of the other just to make them fit the whole window frame perfectly. And then below that, in the reference photo, there was these kind of like brick outcroppings right below the windows, kind of like a window ledge. And so what I did is I decided to take these debug brick walls from base game, and I shrunk them down, I think maybe by 2, again using the left bracket key, and then I just put them underneath the window and kind of shimmied them around. Actually, now that I think about it, I used 2 of those and then I merged them together because with that item on one side, it is like, I'm not sure the best way to describe it, but I guess transparent, like it doesn't look like there's the edge of the wall there, but then on the other side it looks like the edge of a brick wall. So I kind of had to put those together so that the transparent or invisible sides were facing each other, and then it, the whole thing looks complete. And yeah, so that's what I did for that, and I think it looks really cute in the end. It adds like a nice little extra element because it was looking a little bit bland and boring, but I didn't feel like flower pots really fit the vibe of this, so I feel like this was a very good happy medium. And then just to add a little bit more detail, I put some of those AC vents from Strangerville along with a couple of different pipes, and I think the pipes city living maybe, or high school years, or the drain pipes I know are from Get Together. They are from Get Together. I know that one for a fact. Yeah, so I just want to add some more realistic looking elements, and the way I did it so that the basement is not like an actual basement. Let me think of how to explain this. So pretty much when you're building basements in The Sims, like the standard way to do it is to use like the draw basement tool, or go all the way down below your main floor and add a basement that way. But when you do a basement that way, your Sims kind of enter this like black void. You can't really put windows, or if you can, they don't go to anywhere. And I personally don't enjoy playing in basements like that, because it just feels like there's no sense of like ambiance or scenery or anything like that, which I find kind of boring and like dreary to play in. And so the way I did it is, this is actually a 3-story lot, like ground floor stories. So I just built 3 rooms on top of each other, and then using the platform tool, I actually took that, instead of dragging it up like you might normally do and like adding your stairs and all of that, I actually dragged it down so that it was sunken into the lot. And then to make it look a bit more, I guess, polished and complete, because it does have some weird spacing with the walls and the ground, I put a couple of different bushes and fences and flowers and hedges and all of that good stuff. And so that way your Sims are not in a black void if they're living in the basement. They are just on like slightly underground, halfway underground, which is, you know, the case for most of these apartments. You don't really see a basement that is fully submerged underground with no windows. At least I've never seen that for these little fourplex things. And so yeah, just to keep it true to the game, or true to life, not true to the game, I did that as a little workaround. Now, as a little disclosure, for some of these basement lots, the hedges and stuff kind of clip through the wall. I tried to reduce it as much as I could, but just with the way the landscaping works, I couldn't fully get rid of that. So hopefully it doesn't bug you too much, but of course you can just put like a little picture over it or some kind of dresser or mirror. There's like a lot of different workarounds, and it doesn't affect gameplay or anything. You just kind of have like some weird green bits coming through every now and again, but yeah, it doesn't affect gameplay or anything like that. And so yeah, I've also put a little bit of ivy on the front, along with a little, I'm not sure how to describe it, but almost like the apartment numbers or the name of the apartment. It's actually this sign that we got from, I believe, Get to Work, and I sized it down a little bit. It does actually light up in the back, which isn't ideal because that probably looks a little bit too fancy for this place, I guess, but in the daytime it looks fine. And it's just like these black little Sims letters, and so I just use that to kind of mark what kind of apartment it is, or the address or something like that. And then I also put a tiny little security camera, because I felt like that was pretty realistic. And then I also put some like trash chutes, and what else? There's some trash chutes and some mailboxes from City Living. Also, this little corkboard that I just placed there is from City Living. Now, that's a debug item. I'm not sure if I've placed it down and now it can be functional or whatnot, but I more just put it for the aesthetics. But for the City Living expansion pack, if you're not aware, it's like this little board that's in the, I guess, the landings of all your apartments, and your Sims can post notes there, or have other Sims post notes, or learn about the Spice Festival or other festivals and whatnot. And so that's kind of what that's for. But yeah, I don't think it's functional with the way I've placed it, but if it is, that's great. But if not, I don't know. It looks nice and it makes the apartment feel more real and such. And yeah, I put a whole bunch of different like water scuff marks or just weird ominous stains from the Strangerville pack. And same with the floor, I used this really beat up tile from City Living. And I think I also used a couple of different werewolves wall decals and floor decals just to really put that like kind of grungy feel into it. I wanted the entranceway and like basement and whatnot to feel grungier than the rest of the place, because the rest of the place has people living in it. So I'd imagine that maybe they've touched up the areas where it needs to be touched up. I also don't include the landlord as one of the people living on this lot. I don't really know who it is. Maybe it's like, wait a minute, maybe the land grabs like own this apartment building. I've just kind of thought about that, but maybe it could work. And maybe they just don't like care to visit it. Maybe it was one of their first investments and now they've just kind of forgotten about it, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it's someone who's up and coming. I'm not too sure, but pretty much the landlord doesn't take the greatest care of this apartment. They kind of have it and leave it. They accept the rent, and you know, that's kind of that. And actually you will see now that I'm throwing in some of the bathrooms, so you are kind of seeing me randomly decorate a whole bunch of them, which is actually kind of an eyesore. So forgive me for that. But yeah, you'll just see me furnish all of the apartments. They don't all have the same layout, which is something I actually really like about this apartment, because every apartment feels a little bit different. Now, I know that's not the most realistic to real life, but I don't know. All of the floor plans ended up being ever so slightly different, so I felt like it was only fitting to make, you know, the layout suit the apartment or the floor plan. Hopefully you understand what I mean, but yeah, every apartment has its own little quirks to it, except one consistent thing throughout all of them is the wallpaper and the flooring, as well as the appliances. So all of that's the same, just the way I've arranged it is a little bit different. And yeah, so you will have seen that I actually ended up adding a little laundromat area in the basement. So right outside the two apartments, there's like 2 washers, 2 dryers, and that's because I didn't put any laundry in the actual units. It just ends up being in the basement just for like ease of space, and also I feel like that's pretty realistic to have, like, you know, the landlord kind of, what's the word, like monitor the laundry, I guess you could say. And yeah, I think you probably have to pay for it there, but at least it's in your building instead of having to go to an external laundromat. So there's pros and cons, but I feel like having a laundromat in the building or just a little laundry area is pretty common. So I decided to add one of those, again, making it feel a bit beat up and things like that. And one thing I do want to talk about, which I am super proud of, is the door situation. So I'm going to take you through how I made these little peepholes on the door. Like, you know how in like certain apartment doors, or honestly just like housing doors, you have like this little circle that you can look through to see who's at your door before you open it, which I'm pretty sure is called a peephole, but if I'm wrong you can correct me. But pretty much what I did to make those, since I don't have any of the doors that feature those, I think maybe the Discover University ones have those, but I don't have that pack, and so I took my own little spin on it, and it can actually be entirely base game if you remove the little number thingy that I added. But pretty much all you need to do is take these base game pool lights, which are originally like a pretty substantial size circle, and all you have to do is size that down all the way using the left bracket key once again, and it will just snap to the door because it's meant to be a wall light. And once it's that small, you can actually go into live mode and adjust the lighting and turn it all the way off. So if you do a shift click, like hold shift and click on the light while you're in live mode, and that will bring up this feature where you can change the color, change the dimness, things like that. And you just bring the dimness all the way down so that it doesn't glow randomly at night. And then I just put those on either side of the door, and it looks like a little peephole. And I was so happy with myself when I came up with that. I don't really know how it came to be. I've been watching a lot of Sid Mac recently, she's just been so fun to watch. I haven't really watched her channel before, but I have now, and I'm a little bit addicted. But yeah, I just see her use these pool lights for pretty much anything when she's doing these little challenges and is like, I don't know, trying to create like certain decals. She uses these, and then I was like, wait a minute, they've got like the metal, they've got the glass. If I size them down, they're literally a peephole. And so that's exactly what I did. And then on the side of the door where you would enter, like the one that's not on the inside of the unit, I put this cats and dogs little wall decal that's meant to just be, I don't really know. It's meant to be something in like Simlish with like an exclamation mark, but one, pretend the exclamation mark isn't there, and two, I decided to use it like it was the unit's number. Now, there's only one of these wall decals, and I know in the newest pack, the Lovestruck expansion pack, which I don't have unfortunately, but I know that they gave us these like number plates, like what you would see on the outside of a house and whatnot. But since I don't have that, I just use these wall decals, and I feel like with the way they're written, they're just like black. I feel like they can kind of pass as, you know, the suite number, the unit number, so I feel like it's okay. But like I said, there's only one swatch of these, so I can't add any slight variation, but just use your creativity, your imagination, and pretend that they are all slightly different, because obviously all the units are not titled the same number, because that would be wildly inefficient for the mailman. But yeah, so that's what I decided to do with the doors, and I'm just so happy with how that turned out. Yes, I'm just super happy with how that came out. But you can see that I'm almost done furnishing the very first unit of this apartment, which I envisioned is for a set of 2 elderly Sims. And I'm thinking they've probably lived in this apartment for pretty much their whole life. They've never really moved. I think they probably first moved in here when they got married, when they were nice and young, and they've kind of just grown old here together. And that's kind of the basic storyline for them. I didn't have too much more aside from that. I just thought it was like really sweet, the idea of them living here their whole lives, and I feel like everyone in the apartment complex just kind of loves them. They're like their own grandparents. They're the grandparents or like parents of the apartment complex, which I thought was such a cute idea. So I tried to put a bunch of like dated furniture, so there's a lot of cats and dogs in here because I just feel like cats and dogs has the best items that look like grandparenty or more dated, I guess. So I've used a couch from there, and I believe I do use the couch. I was watching it, but you know, as this usually goes when I do these voiceovers, it doesn't register in my brain what I'm looking at, but I do use the cats and dogs one in the green, yellow, and white swatch, I believe. And then I also took a chair from Cats and Dogs, like the higher back with the little blanket over it, and then also a paranormal chair, which matches pretty perfectly with the Cats and Dogs one in terms of like color and pattern, but they're just slightly different, which I really enjoyed. And yeah, so that was kind of the idea for them. There wasn't too much worth noting in there. I just made it feel really cluttered and lived in, like it's just kind of always been there. Oh, I guess I used a cottage living rug in the cute little, wait, was it cottage living or was it growing together? I think it was cottage living. If it's the one with the little more cartoonish roses, that one would be cottage living, and if it looked a bit more realistic, then that one would be growing together. But I'm pretty sure it's cottage living. I really need to start like actually watching like what I'm, or I guess registering what I'm looking at, and you know, then I can give you guys some accurate information. But if I'm wrong, like I'll put it up on the screen or something like that. I'll find a way to fill you guys in if I can remember, that is. But yeah, so there wasn't too much involved there. I'm thinking they're both retired. I don't imagine them to have, you know, too much going on anymore. They're just kind of enjoying their elderly life. You know, they probably go on walks. Maybe they swim in the pool, do some morning laps and stuff to stay healthy and fit. They've got a little TV they can watch. They probably are big into books. I don't have the nifty knitting kit, but I feel like they would be into knitting and things like that, which I probably should have put a cross stitching box in there now that I think about it. Maybe if I can remember, I'll put that in there before I upload it to the gallery. But yeah, just, you know, your standard elderly activities. I put a little, what's it called, like beach towel out on their balcony because I don't have spa day, but if I did, I would put a yoga mat out there. But the closest thing I had was this beach towel, and so they can either suntan out there or they can, you know, you can pretend it's their yoga mat, because I feel like one of them probably does like yoga or tai chi in the morning. My grandpa always used to do tai chi in the morning when he'd stay over, and so I feel like that's what one of these grandparents does. Yeah, and then I also put like a little rocking chair outside where I imagine they probably enjoy their morning coffee or tea and just, you know, take the day nice and slow. They don't have many worries anymore. They're just kind of enjoying their life, which I think is super sweet. And yeah, so moving on from that apartment, you will have seen that I quickly furnished the basement one, which, like I mentioned, is either for a sim moving in or moving out. I couldn't really decide, but I made that apartment look dingy. I put a whole bunch of different like wall stains and floor stains and like peeling wallpaper, cracked wallpaper, things like that. And then, but I also put a whole bunch of boxes. So I used a couple of debug ones just to try and make it look like they're packing up or unpacking. Once again, not sure. But then I also took this base game bed and I lowered it into the floor using the tool mod to make it look like kind of the frame was set up, but the mattress wasn't there. But then what I did is I took one of the seasons beds, the ones that look like it has about 5 pillows on it and it has no bed frame. And I took that, and using the tool mod, I rotated it 180 degrees so that it's like standing up kind of, and then I tilted it maybe like 30, and then I kind of made it look like it was resting against the wall. And I was thinking that that's the mattress that's going to go with the bed, but they haven't set it up yet, and I think that looks so good and is a cute little detail that I added, and I'm pretty proud of coming up with that one as well. I was just kind of testing out a whole bunch of different things in this one, and honestly I think all of it paid off, so that's always a very good feeling. And yeah, so there's nothing really else to mention for that apartment. It's just kind of beat up, in the process of being renovated or moved into, or the tenant is leaving. Maybe the tenant is leaving and that's why it looks like that. Maybe they didn't take very good care of it or something like that. I'm not sure. It can be totally up to you guys, because your sim could also move into that lot and then kind of, you know, renovate it as they go, which could be a cute little like rags to riches almost. And yeah, so that's it for the basement apartments. There's nothing else going on in there, but now we have moved on into the second unit that I imagine Sims are living in. So this one I was thinking is for a set of newly-ish weds. I feel like they've probably been married for about 1 or 2 years. In my head, I was picturing millennials. I wanted it to be like a very millennial themed apartment, and yeah, I was picturing a couple of newlyweds who are expecting twins. Now, if they do actually end up having twins, I'm not sure if all of them can fit into the lot, because I have 2, 1, 4, 5, 6. Okay, but one of them has a cat. Yeah, I was thinking the grandparents have a cat. So if these newlyweds do end up having twins, then you might have to get rid of the cat, or you'll just have to pick one kid. I'm not going to make that decision. That's not, you know what? I came up with The Sims. How you want to play with their storyline, that's all up to you. But yeah, you can just kind of mess around with how you feel you want it to work if you don't like the way I have chosen it. But yeah, I was thinking that they are expecting children, like there's babies on the way, and they're living in this very small apartment that is definitely not going to fit 4 Sims once they grow up, but that's an issue for future them. But yeah, you will see that the kitchen ends up being very cluttered. In all of the kitchens, I make sure there is one counter that is completely free just for, you know, gameplay's sake, so your Sims can actually cook and whatnot. But then on all the other counters, they are packed, which is how I always like to decorate them. And so I just put a whole bunch of different clutter, and you will have seen that I really struggled with picking out the dining room table. I don't know why it was so hard for me, but I think when I first came into this build, it wasn't clear to me the direction I wanted to go in. But then once I started seeing that like pastel blue, I was like, it needs to be a millennial home. And so that's kind of what I was thinking. But I feel like for this household, maybe one of the Sims is not the best Sim, or maybe isn't too prepared to be a parent, and so this other Sim is doing all of the work. They're setting up the nursery, they're buying all the things that the kids are going to need once they're brought into the world and things like that. And I feel like they kind of carry a lot of weight on their back, and I was thinking that maybe they rely on one of the upstairs neighbors who you'll see when I talk about them, but they end up being a personal trainer. And I was thinking that maybe this Sim kind of relies on them, and maybe there's a little romance blossoming there. Yeah, but I just imagined that one of the Sims is maybe out all the time with their friends, maybe always going out to bars and things like that, not really at home, you know, taking care of like his marriage, or their marriage, I should say. And yeah, so that's kind of the thinking I have for them. And I kind of like how their apartment turned out. It's definitely has more of that millennial influence, which I can't say is my favorite aesthetic, but I do think it is still kind of cute. I do like the color scheme in the end and stuff. And yeah, so I also did something super cute that I've seen a couple of different YouTubers do now, is where you take this tray, which, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna, I think it's a Dream Home Decorator stuff pack tray. Well, it's not actually a tray, it's a end table. And what you do is you take that and you like merge it into the bed, and then you put little clutter items on it, and it looks like a little tray. And so that's what I did for the bed. And I put some candles, a little notebook, and I think just some other books, and maybe like some glasses, and I was just thinking that that's maybe the Sims little area to kind of decompress and have some time to themselves. And then I also ended up putting a dresser and a mirror and a couple of different pictures up there. Nothing too crazy in the bedroom or anything like that. And even in the nursery, I had no space to put anything. I can't even guarantee that the nursery is functional with the changing table and the 2 cribs, so that may have to be, you know, adjusted, but it at least looks cute. I think they're probably planning on having like a little boy and a little girl. And yeah, but of course, if that's not what you want, you can change it to be anything you do want and, you know, play with the storyline that feels true to you or fun for you to play in. And for their patio, I was thinking, since maybe I don't think they're the most well off, like with 2 new kids coming in, they definitely have to, you know, hold back on a couple different purchases. And so for their balcony area, I just put a couple of little outdoor chairs because I don't think that they could probably afford too much to put out there right now. And in terms of their careers, I hadn't really thought too much of it, if I'm honest. I feel like maybe one of them's just in business and the other one is maybe just going to be a stay-at-home parent, or I feel like they could be like a teacher of some kind, but I don't have that as a career. But I feel like an elementary school teacher or like someone who works at a daycare or something could work really well. But yeah, if you guys have any ideas for that sim, let me know and I can always edit that in. But right now, I guess they're just a stay-at-home parent. And yeah, so I finished with that apartment and now I'm on to the next apartment, the 3rd apartment, my favorite apartment. Pretty much the way I went about decorating this apartment is if I would decorate my room like it, it's going in there. Did that make sense? Pretty much it's just like an alley core apartment. So anything that I like was going in this apartment, and I'm just imagining that I live here. In my dreams, I live in this apartment. I think it is so cute. It's got a whole bunch of mix and match stuff, a whole bunch of different colors and clutters, and just kind of very cozy and cottagey. And yeah, I'm just obsessed with how this one came out. So I'll take you through my process. The couch that I decided to use was the high school years one. I just really liked the little draped blanket and the pillows. I just think that was so super cute. And originally I was going to go for this whole celestial theme because I'm big into celestial stuff and like stars and things like that. And I was going to go with that because on the high school years couch, there is a little pillow that has stars, and I want to add in some of those posters and stuff, but I wasn't really loving that couch. I wanted to use the plaid one more. So I end up doing a whole bunch of flip-flopping between the two, but I do end up sticking with the plaid one in the end. And I'm really happy I did that because I just think it looks really good. And I add in other celestial elements in different areas. Like you can see the posters that I put on the wall are the one that's got like the solar system, that's from high school years, and then the one that has like the moon and the trees and whatnot, that is from werewolves. And actually what I did so that they would look less like posters and more like pieces of art, or like they're meant to be there, is I took these picture frames, just this base game picture, and I took the frame and I think I sized it up by 1, and then using the tool mod I clicked on the poster and then I held Alt and clicked on the floor to bring it out of the wall, and then that way it looks like it's resting in the picture frame and they look more like completed pieces of work instead of just some little posters that have been thrown up. I mean, either works, but I just kind of like the little extra detail that this added. And yeah, I just really wanted this apartment to be colorful and full of patterns and clutter, and I think I succeeded in that. So the curtains I'm using are from Cats and Dogs, and I think I end up using them in this blue gingham swatch, but I might end up changing it to a yellow. Oh, or do I switch it to these macrame ones? Honestly, you'll just have to watch and find out, because there was so much flip-flopping with this apartment that I can't even tell you. But one of my favorite things that I did with this apartment is I made this little custom bench. So I actually took 2 base game kitchen cabinets in like the half tile swatch or format, I guess, and then I lowered them so that they rest on the floor instead. And then I took these laundry day little ottomans and I shrunk those down by 1, and I raised them up using the 9 key, and then I just merged them into the little cabinets to make it look like a little built-in seat. And on that one, they're kind of like peach toned with little white polka dots, and I'm a sucker for polka dots, so I decided to add those in. And yeah, I felt like it really helped like bring that whole mix matched pattern thing in. And then one of my favorite things is I took this cottage living kitchen cabinet again, which is the white one, and if you use the outer corner piece, it has a whole bunch of different little clutter and things like that. And so I decided to use that as a part of the built-in because it's got like this cute little hanging plant, a couple of different jars, and so I used that as, you know, a part of the console. And then I just merged in some more clutter, like this little makeup thing from I think high school years, and I don't know, some books and things like that. I'm just trying to look and see, but it's kind of hard to know what's the clutter originally and what's not. And I also really like how I decorated the top of it. So I raised up the TV, and then I actually rested it on a little, I think, debug cottage living book, or it's just, actually I think it's a base game book. It's just like one of those baking novels that your Sims can purchase and level up their skills. And so I used that to kind of make it look like the TV was sitting on it. And then I put a little plant and a little moonlight. I think the moonlight is from, I think that one's from Growing Together, because it's not the werewolves one where it like floats, but yeah, that one's from Growing Together, which I think is so cute. And I love moons, I love stars, and so I felt like it was only fitting for me to put that in there. And yeah, I think that covers like the living room area. For the entranceway, I use this cute little photo collage, which is from Growing Together, which has a couple of different cute little that was a lot of adjectives. It has cute little paintings or pictures in it. That was way more confusing than it needed to be. And then I also used this little palm tree. Well, actually it's not little. I had to size it down because it's really big, but it's from the paranormal stuff pack, and I really like it, but it's just a massive item. So I sized it down and I just put that in there. And then I also used this mirror, which actually, no, that's not the mirror I used. Which mirror? Oh, I don't use any mirror. Oh, yes, I do. I use this base game mirror with the little sticky notes and whatnot. And then I just have like a little shoe rack and a little shelf for like keys and mail. And yeah, just a whole bunch of clutter. And then behind the couch, I put the laundry day table console thing that looks like it has a whole bunch of like towels and I don't know, like blankets, maybe just like a bunch of different like cozy clutter in there. And then on top of that, I put some board games and a cross stitch basket and some little gym equipment. And then I also took these cute little star hanging things. I don't know, they're from Seasons, and I decided to put those on the wall like above the TV because I felt like that was pretty cute. Oh, I do end up keeping the macrame curtain instead of the cats and dogs one, which honestly I kind of miss the cats and dogs one, but it's okay. And then I also use this cute little tapestry, which is from Horse Ranch, in like a really pretty yellow swatch. And then the lamp that I'm using is from Werewolves. And I also put, okay, let me backtrack a little bit. I think that this apartment is for an artist. Like, their career is going to be a freelance illustrator. Like I said, this is literally just an apartment for myself, and since I am in school for illustration, I figured I'm gonna make an apartment for an artist. And yeah, so if you didn't know, The Sims 4 has a base game career, which is the freelance illustrator, and so that's what I think this sim is or does. And so I wanted all of that to come across and like the decor and whatnot. And so off of the kitchen, you can see now I'm doing this little desk setup. So I use this drafting desk, which is from Dream Home Decorator. And then I just put a whole bunch of clutter. And then I put a bunch of different posters. Some are base games, some are high school years, I think. And I put those right above the desk as if it was things that the sim had painted or drew or just inspiration, I guess. And I put that up there. And then I also have the easel with the little sculpture of, it's a sculpture item, it's not actually a sculpture, but it's like this table full of like paints and paintbrushes and things like that. And then I also took these canvases, which are base game, and I put those around to make it look like the sim has, you know, been working on a couple of different paintings and is just like storing them on the ground because there's not a lot of space here. And then for the kitchen, I have a little dining table, which is from Cottage Living, with some Growing Together chairs, I think, the little woven ones. And again, just more clutter. I put a couple of different like candles and mugs and a little plant, I think. And same with the kitchen, just books, spice racks, dishes, some paper towels, soap. You know, just like kind of the things that you need. And I also put this little hanging sculpture of a couple of different pots and pans because I felt like it was super cute. It's just a base game one, but it looks a bit more like cottagecore. And and I used it in like a copper swatch because I felt like that was very pretty. And yeah, so that's the little kitchen area, and now you can see we've moved on into the bedroom, which, oh my goodness, if this bedroom could be my bedroom, I would be so happy. But I use a cottage living bed with this cute little mix match duvet set. It's got little plaid pillows but also little flower bedding, and it's just so cute on like this little wire bed frame. And then above that I use this paranormal gallery wall, which comes with a whole bunch of different like paintings and items like that, but there's always like this weird gap in it because the way it's arranged makes it look like a triangle, and there's always looks like there's a little bit missing. And so to fill that in, I just took a little Strangerville poster of like some mountains or some canyons, and I put that in there. And then I also use these werewolves photos, which come in these beautiful golden frames and have like the cutest little decals in them. There's like 2 different flowers and then also a butterfly, so I used that in there as well. And then I also used, what else did I use? Oh yeah, I used a werewolves mirror, which is this beautiful like crescent moon around the mirror, and it's got like some plants and some gems, which is so cute. And then just really any clutter I could find from the everyday clutter kit and high school years, just to make it feel super lived in. And then at the foot of the bed, I put some more canvases in, it's another base game item, but in this kind of storage unit, because I felt like they're just putting paintings wherever they can, because, you know, they're an artist, they've got to store their art somewhere. And yeah, so that kind of covers their whole apartment, and that one's by far my favorite. You guys let me know which apartment is your favorite, because I'd actually love to know, since there's 4 very different apartments in here. But yeah, that one's my personal favorite for obvious reasons. But anyways, I have finished that apartment and moved on into the last apartment. Not the last thing I'm gonna decorate, but the last apartment. And this one ends up being for what I believe is a personal trainer. So in this unit, they actually end up having their own home gym. And I was thinking maybe some of the Sims from here, like who live in this unit, come to this personal trainer. Instead of like having to go to the gym, they can just, you know, walk a couple flights of stairs or walk across the hall for their all their gym needs, I guess. But maybe it's a little bit more pricey, I'm not really sure. But yeah, I was thinking this sim is a personal trainer, and honestly, one of the storylines I came up with for them is that actually they are Eliza Pancake's personal trainer. So I was thinking maybe her and Bob are having a bit of a spat right now, and she's trying to like, you know, feel in her confident era and like have like a personal glow up and whatnot. Not to say that there's anything wrong with Eliza right now, except for maybe some of her personality traits. But yeah, I think she's just trying to like, you know, feel empowered and whatnot. And so she started doing like this gym stuff, and she found this personal trainer, and I feel like there's a hint of a romantic spark there, which I think could be such a fun storyline, because I don't know how you guys like to play with the pancakes or how you envision them. Like, I don't know if you think they make their marriage work or if they end up going their own separate ways, but I feel like Eliza having a crush on this personal trainer is just too good. I don't know if the crush is reciprocated, but I do know that she has it. And yeah, so I was thinking that this is the personal trainer that the sim actually right below this unit ends up having a crush on as well. And maybe the personal trainer has a crush on that sim, but obviously they can't act on it because they're married, or well, the other sim is married. So yeah, there's a couple of little drama routes you could go with this if you wanted to. Yeah, so this is a much more darker themed apartment. I went with a lot of black tones, but I still wanted it to feel kind of cool. Not cool toned, but like cool vibes, if you will. So I tried to put like all this different sports stuff. I have a couple of different like signed jerseys, some basketballs, some footballs, a bunch of different workout clutter from the everyday clutter kit. And I also put a couple of different skateboards on the wall, which is from the Parenthood game pack actually, and I'm pretty happy with adding those. And the couch that I use is from Growing Together, which is a lot more like modern looking, but definitely comfy looking, which I'm very happy there's like a nice crossover between the two, because I feel like usually it's one or the other, but with this couch it defies the odds. And yeah, it's got a couple of cute little pillows on it, so it didn't feel too like bland or boring. And then I also took this high school years rug, which is kind of, macrame is not the right word, but it's got the little tassels on the end, and it's got like a cute little pattern on it, and I liked the hints of beige in it to kind of tie in the wall and also the pillows. And so I added that in there, and I think that looks super cute. And I just put a little TV with some other clutter items, and I also put a whole bunch of different like sports themed posters above the TV that you can see I'm doing here, but I didn't like some of the ones from high school years, so I merged in some base game ones, and there's a couple of different like football tactic maps. I'm not really sure the word, like games, no, different plays, that's it, different football plays, like kind of scribbled out and put against the wall, because I think they're a personal trainer but also big into sports. Since personal trainer isn't like an actual career in The Sims, I think I'd probably put them in the athlete career. And yeah, I just think they have an interest in anything that involves being athletic and physical, and so that's kind of what I went with. And then for their balcony, I put just like a little metal outdoor chair and a treadmill and a bike, and just like a little water bottle on the thing, not on the thing, on the chair as well, just to kind of make it look like they had just rested it there. And I thought that was super cute. And their little dining room is nothing crazy. It's a table and 2 chairs. I think I used the Dream Home Decorator chairs and then maybe threw a plant on it. But this apartment has like the most closed off entryway compared to the other ones. So in there's just like a little hallway table with a whole bunch of clutter and a little mirror and stuff. And that's kind of just like the outside area. Oh yeah, and I do end up adding a desk out there, which you will have seen already. And I was just thinking that's kind of like the at-home workstation, because if they are a personal trainer, either they go into the gym or they just do it from their home gym, which I feel like makes a little bit more sense. And yeah, so I figured it's probably important for them to have like an at-home workstation. And so I did that, and now I'm just on into the bedroom, and I actually end up using this Jungle Adventure bed, which is kind of surprising. I've never used this bed before, and also there's definitely a lot of other beds that probably could have worked better if I'm honest, but I liked the mix of black and brown in this one with like the little geometric pattern, because I felt like it suited the rest of the apartment with the rug I used in the living room and things like that. And I put some black curtains from Seasons, a very standard side table, and I just decorated that with, again, some more clutter. And I used a growing together lamp, which is actually pretty cool because it's one of those more like curved looking ones, which are pretty trendy right now. It's not one of the giant curved ones, which is the one that I'm thinking is the most trendy right now, but it's still pretty cute, and it worked pretty perfectly for what I needed there. And so I went with that. And then I also kind of gave them like a little custom wardrobe situation. So I used some of the Dream Home Decorator cupboards and just added in some like high school years clothes and some like Dream Home Decorator clothes and maybe some Horse Ranch ones, honestly, just in some more darker swatches. And I'm thinking maybe it's just like a standard IKEA little custom wardrobe setup that they use in their room because they didn't really have the storage that they wanted there. And so that was kind of the thinking for that. And then now you'll see that I am moved on into their home gym. So in here I put down this flooring, which looks like a couple of different like squishy mats, I guess, like the workout mats, and then also a couple of different mirrors and workout equipment. So I do like the raisy arm one, you know, I can't think of the name for it. If you guys know what I'm talking about, you can write in the comments. Like the lat machine works your back, works your arms, but also works your, then there's the one that works your legs. I don't know. And then I also put in a little punching bag because I think maybe they also teach some boxing and things like that. And yeah, so that's kind of it for the little workout area. I did put a couple of different high school years like awards that they've won, and put that on the wall just as like fitness certification or something. And then now you will see that I've moved on up into the last bit of this build, which is the rooftop. And I wanted this rooftop to just have a whole bunch of skill building items and be like the main hangout. So I put like some lounge chairs, a card table, a bubble blower, a DJ machine, a bar, literally anything you could need. And I just put that out there, and just to make it the perfect hangout spot. And so that is it for this video, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure you let me know in the comments below and let me know which is your favorite apartment. And yeah, I will see you all in the next speed building video. Bye, guys.